Good morning, guys. This story is called The Egg Tree. The author of this story is Catherine Malhost, and she's also the illustrator. And if you look at the front, this was something we talked about not long before school got out, and it's the Caldecott Medal. Remember, that means that these illustrations, these pictures, won that special medal, that special award. So they're really good pictures. It was very early on Easter morning, so early that the children were still asleep in the small red house, and the animals were quiet in the big red barn, all except the rooster. Suddenly, the rooster threw out his chest as if he was blowing a horn. Cock-a-doodle-doo! "This will never do," he crowed. Just then the sun came up over the red hills. The rooster crowed again, and all the animals woke up. The third time he crowed, he woke up Katie, and Katie woke up Carl. "Carl, get up! Maybe we can see the Easter rabbit bring the eggs." Katie and Carl tiptoed across the floor to the window and flung open the shutters. How good the outdoors smelled, and how lovely the garden looked. "The rabbit hasn't come yet," said Katie. "See, there are flower petals I put for him on the lawn. He hasn't eaten a one." Carl laughed. "I don't believe the Easter bunny eats flower petals. If you want the rabbit to come, you have to whistle for him, like this." "I can't whistle." "Shh," said Katie. "Grandmom said we mustn't wake up our cousins, so they should not, till it's time for the egg hunt. But there won't be any egg hunt if the rabbit doesn't bring the eggs," said Carl. He whistled again. "Shh, I can't whistle." He whistled again a bit louder. He hoped his cousins in the next bedroom would hear him and get up. Then they, too, could see the rabbit bring the eggs. Carl and Katie leaned out the window. The morning was full of sounds. Birds twittered, cows mooed. Let me hear you moo. Moo. Horses neighed. Pigs grunted. Geese honked. I don't know how they sound. And hens cackled. But still, the Easter rabbit did not come. Once there was a rustle under the big lilac bush, but it was only the cat. My cat's still hanging out with me. "Whistle just once more, please, Carl," Katie said. This time, Carl whistled with all his might. Suddenly, Katie put her hand over his mouth. "Shh, Carl, there's the rabbit in the garden, and he's nibbling on some flower petals." The children held their breaths. How the rabbit bounced about the flower beds and burrowed in the bushes. At last he bounded out of sight behind the barn. "Come on, Katie," said Carl. "Let's wake everybody up." He ran down the hall calling, "Susie, Lukey, Johnny, Apollonia, the Easter rabbit has come." In a few minutes, all the children were dressed and out in the barnyard. The egg hunt had begun. Grandmom smiled from the kitchen door. Which child would win the prize for finding the most eggs? It would not be Carl or Katie, she was sure, for this was their very first egg hunt. The other grandchildren had come every Easter to the little red house. At first, Katie and Carl thought hunting for colored eggs the greatest fun in the world, but somehow their cousins found all the pretty eggs. Katie and Carl just did not know where to look. Who would think that the rabbit had left eggs in the feed bin, in the watering trough, and even in the hayloft? In the garden, it was even harder. There they are. They're looking for all those eggs that the Easter bunny hid. The colored, oh my goodness, look how beautiful that illustration is. So remember, this story won an award for it. Let's see where they're going to find some eggs next. The colored eggs looked so much like the colored flowers, but at last Carl found a nest of 3 eggs in a magnolia tree. Now Katie was the only one who had not found a single egg, so she hasn't found any eggs yet. In the kitchen, the egg hunt began all over again. Katie was sure she would find eggs in the kitchen, but here too the rabbit had left eggs in the strangest places. in the clock case, in the cookie cutters, and even under the butter churn. Katy began to run round and round like a waltzing mouse. If only she could find just one egg. Even little Apollyonia had found an egg and was already eating it. "Hooray! I found another egg!" shouted Carl, running out of the stair closet. "I have the most!" "No, I have," said Luke. He lifted a purple egg from the teapot. "I have 5. Round and round the kitchen ran Katy, but now she only wanted to run away and hide. Why does she feel so sad? It's because she hasn't found any eggs yet. Just then she saw the attic stairs. Maybe the Easter rabbit had left eggs for her in the attic. Katy began to climb the creaking stairs. So every time she walks, it's going creak, creak. The big attic was dark and lonely. Katy shivered a little. Soon it did not seem quite so dark, and she could see into the far corners. A spider was busy spinning her silken web across a bar of sunlight. What was that on the shelf in the dark corner? A box. It looked like a hat box. Katy tiptoed across the dusty floor. Could the Easter rabbit have left eggs in an old hat box? No, of course not. How silly she was. She climbed up on a chest and lifted the lid of the hat box. And there were eggs, all packed snugly in an old beaver hat. It must have been a long time since someone had put them away. Katy took out the eggs carefully. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What beautiful colors! And there were pictures on the eggs. Katy took the hat full of eggs and walked slowly down the stairs. The Easter rabbit had not forgotten her after all. She was sure that she had won the prize. But there was Carl in the kitchen with a whole pile of eggs on the table. He was very excited. So how many eggs has Katy found? She found 6. Let's see. About Carl. I found 12 eggs. I've won. I found 6, Katy said, and put her hatful on the table beside Carl. Grandmom stopped laying the breakfast cloth. Her eyes grew big and round. Why, I'd forgotten all about these eggs. I'm glad you found them, Katy. And now for the prize. Carl has the prize for the most eggs, but Katy has won the prize for the most beautiful eggs. Grandmom gave them each a big cookie rabbit with an egg baked in its middle. Now it was breakfast time. The children began to crack and eat the eggs they had found in the egg hunt. Grandmom bought a big pitcher of milk, and Katy and Carl shared their cookie rabbits with the other children. Let's eat the eggs Katy found in the attic, said little Apollonia, who was still hungry. No, 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 said Grandmom. The very idea. Besides, they're all hollow inside. So if they're hollow, that means there's nothing inside. Grandmom sat down, holding the eggs in her lap. I painted these eggs myself when I was a young girl, right here in this kitchen. I painted them. They turned out so pretty that I kept them all these years. But now each of you may choose one for you to always keep. Carl chose first. He picked out an egg with a picture of a fine galloping horse on it. Katy chose an egg with a lovely bird sitting on a branch. Katy held up her egg and looked at it closely. She turned it round and round to see all the bright colors. Susie, Luke, and Johnny each chose an egg. Now there was only one egg left in the old hat. Why, this egg has the letter A on it, said Grandma. A is for Apollonia. Apollonia took the egg. It's pretty, she said, but I do wish it was good to eat. The children put their eggs in a row on the window seat. Now, what shall we do with them? They asked. So they have these eggs now that their grandma painted a long time ago, but there's nothing inside. So they want to know, what do you do with those eggs? We don't do anything with them. They are just beautiful. We look at them. Grandma did not say a word. She put on her shawl and went out the kitchen door. In a few minutes, she came back carrying a small tree. She fixed the tree so that it would stand on the table. Then she ran a thread through each of the beautiful eggs and hung them on the tree. Why, it's an Easter egg tree, said Katie. An Easter egg tree, an Easter egg tree, said the children, dancing around the tree. It was a lovely tree, but it was so very small. So you can see there's the tree that they made to put on the table. Suddenly, Carl stood still. Grandma, he said, please show us how to make eggs with pictures on them. Then we can have a bigger tree. Why, certainly, said Grandma. First thing tomorrow. Today, we keep Easter. So if you look at the illustration on this page, here they are. And they're painting their eggs. The next morning, when the children came downstairs, they found Grandma dyeing eggs in the kettles over the fireplace. They hurried through breakfast, for they could scarcely wait to learn how to make pictures on the colored eggs. There were not enough paints to go around, so Grandma said the boys would have to scratch designs on the eggs with their pocket knives. Grandma took sheets of paper and drew all the designs she could remember. Each picture had a name: the bright and morning star, the deer on the mountain, the cooing dove, the pomegranate, the horn-blowing rooster. Oh, Grandma, paint an egg with the horn-blowing rooster, the children begged. So Grandma painted a handsome rooster blowing a horn. So there's her egg. All the children found they could make pictures on the eggs. Even little Apollonia could paint the bright and morning star. Soon the table was happy as a flower garden with all the painted eggs. Now they had enough eggs to make a big tree. Wait till you see how beautiful their tree is. Look at that. Let's go and find one right away, said Carl. Carl and Luke and Johnny went to the woods, and they came back with a young white birch tree. It was so large that it had to stand on the floor. The children trimmed the tree with eggs they had painted themselves, and with many plain dyed ones. Susie and Apollonia hung small baskets from each branch. Under the tree, Grandma placed an enormous cookie rabbit, which she had just taken from the oven. So there's the rabbit. Katie hung up the eggs she had found in the attic. If she had not found those eggs, they would have never have had an egg tree, Grandma said. Katie felt very proud as she hung her egg with the lovely bird on the topmost branch. It is such a beautiful tree. I wish that everyone in the world could see it. Yes, said Grandma. It makes a body feel as if spring has come right into the house. We must give a party for it. So Grandma gave a party for the tree. All the children from all the farms were invited. An egg tree, they said. We've never seen a tree that grows eggs on its branches. The children went home and told their fathers and mothers about it. The fathers and mothers all came to see the wonderful tree in the little red house. Next Easter, we'll have a bigger tree, Katie said. A really big tree, said Carl. Next year, the children began weeks ahead of Easter to trim the egg tree. This time, it was so tall that it touched the top of the ceiling. Hundreds of eggs hung from its branches. When the sun streamed in, the tree looked like a piece of the rainbow. More than ever, Katie wished that everyone in the world could see their lovely tree. Land sakes, said Grandma, who was standing by the window. Who are all those people coming up the driveway? They were village people who had heard about the wonderful egg tree. More people came to see the tree, and more and more and more. They came from near and they came from far. Some even came from the big city. The little red house had become famous. So if it's famous, that means lots of people know about it. Children brought presents put under the tree, Easter toys and bright baskets, and painted wooden eggs from the land across the sea. Thank you so much for letting us see this wonderful tree. Here's the illustration. The visitors said, and now we're going home and we're going to make our own Easter egg tree. Grandma looked very pleased. That's just fine, she said. There's nothing like an Easter egg tree to bring spring into the house. A happy Easter to you all. When all the visitors had gone, the little red house seemed very quiet. The children sat on the floor and played with their presents spread out under the tree. Suddenly, Katie ran up to Grandma and hugged her. Oh, Grandma, she said, everybody in the world really did come to see our egg tree, didn't they? Grandma laughed. A body would think so to look at this floor, she said. Then she took up her broom and began to sweep briskly. Tomorrow would be Easter, and the house must be fresh and clean. Katy ran out of doors and picked some flowers in the garden. She scattered the bright-colored petals on the lawn for the Easter rabbit's breakfast. It would never do to forget the Easter rabbit, for the Easter rabbit had not forgotten her. The end. I know at our house for Easter, we dye Easter eggs every year, and we like to decorate them. Give me a thumbs up if you do that at your house or if you've done that before. Oh, so some of y'all have done that. Maybe that's something while you're staying home you could do with your mom and dad or whoever you're staying with is dye Easter eggs. All right, guys, I love you. Have a good day.